have our next guest coming from Munich, Germany. We change our program slightly because our guest from the United Arab Emirates will be available a little bit later. So we swap the sessions for you, for those of you who are looking at the agenda. But the content is the same, it's just a different order. I'm very excited to welcome our next guest from Munich, Germany today. Martin Kunzen is with us. Martin, what a pleasure to have you with us. Martin is a hands-on industrial engineer with a passion for understanding of process impacts and fixing broken electronic gadgets. He learned in many major mergers in pharmaceuticals, audit, consulting, chemicals, gases. That change needs brain work besides the tools. He likes to challenge and test his automations, repair gadgets, and explanation of ideas with his daughters and friends before he convinced C-levels about it. So I'm really looking forward to your presentation, Martin, how we bring this human side to technology and transformation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Okay, so I'm getting even more nervous now, 1 hour earlier. But I hope you can see my screen now. Yeah, having the speech after your good presentation, I say, is a challenge in itself. So what I will try the best, and how do I want to do so? It says process mining life and with the cost of living the treasure. When we started and Brian asked me, what can I do? I could say, yes, I can tell you what I do in my current environment. I have to align with my employer, and then I can share the screens what all we have achieved. And we have, what I heard now, all of the other companies have done really great. We have done similar. Maybe let's swap to the next slide. You will not see any Linde logo here because I didn't get the allowance by Linde to talk officially. So I'm speaking here as Martin Kunze. But what I'm allowed to do, I'm allowed to quote the head of process excellence of the Linde PLC. And this guy says, implement a process mining COE is a tool installation, methodology implementation, and the adaptation to a cultural change. And when I've heard in the other things, they all said it's culture, it's people, it's tools. I said, yeah, it's all in the same project, and all of that needs resources. How did this guy came to this idea? He works for Linde. If you don't know what Linde is doing, it has his name from the guy who's called Carl from Linde. He invented the icebox. No, he didn't invent the icebox. He invented the idea that the icebox works with power. If you're asking yourself how does it work, he has used a very nice technical effect which is given by gases. So if you have a gas that is compressed and it expands, it cools down. You don't believe me? You have seen this effect when you use a deodorant which is compressed. It's always cold on your skin. That's exactly the effect which we are using to do business. Are we doing big business? We are doing it in 125 years. And Jose, you said before, I will maybe die 50% in the next 10 years, 9 years, or whatever. No, we are doing the best. We invent each day new, and we try to do so. We do that with 80,000 people. And Jose, you also said, stop thinking like an engineer. Most of the people who work in our company are engineers. And yes, we want to start and do process mining. Doing so, I'm doing it since 1 year with the Linde and doing process mining. I've done RPA before, I've done business process outsourcing before, you can name it. But I was thinking, if someone asked me, Martin, when did you start with process mining? The tool I'm using currently, I use since 1 year. But process mining, I'm doing since the latest I have been studying business engineering in the university. It was digging in small ideas, going there, there, and there. When someone is asking me, what is your digital toolbox? I try to do a little joke. First of all, you can use a sentence saying, that is from Wikipedia, a tool is an object that can extend individuals and to modify something like that. That's boring. I show you my digital toolbox. And then people say, Martin, that's stupid. We don't understand what you're talking about. And I say, yeah, I can do it binary in hex or in decimal. Then I say, I can do it this way. And last but not least, my digital toolbox. And if you look deeper inside, all of these is meaning the same. You can use digital things, but what we learned, we're using them. And the company, Linde, is using them by saying we have drones, they are flying around our plants, and we are doing all of these maintenance things, and we can predict things. We are digital already, but what we haven't done so far, we haven't mined our processes in the way that it makes something good for us. That is what we believe from the top, and we have a center of excellence. That means we are selling a service to all of these engineers. And having told so, that selling to engineers a new technology where these engineers have already data mining, they have already remote operation centers. That means everything is already with all the small sensors we have heard before. So we have already a very high level. Nevertheless, we said, okay, let's do the challenge. And so what my job at the end is, and so I see it, is to sell process mining to all of these departments of engineers to say, let's do it better. And I now want to fetch you and say, how do I do that and what is my journey? Before I do so, I say I had some experience in the past. And I quote here Timo. Timo is working for SAP. This is from his private homepage, is his private opinion. And I like these two cartoons. The first one is, ROI. How do I know what the ROI is if I don't even know what I don't know? And here's a good question or a good thing. Our data mining guys, they found out the churn rate of potential customers. They did a nice modeling, they did it all the old way. And at the end, they said, okay, for this population of customers, we can see that they will churn with the likelihood of X%. Yeah, good. No, you can't call the customer and say, by the way, we found out you will walk away. What can we do? They showed up and say, can we find out why? They said, yes, we can, because that is process mining for. On the other side, I had the management, and they said, oh, I've seen in commercials. And Mark yesterday said nice things. There is commercials outside. They say 10 millions or whatever, you can save it. And they say, is it really when I press this button here, so when your tool is installed, then we can do so? But no. It will come with a cost, and it will come with a tool implementation, and it will come with a dramatic change in culture. I will come later to these points. Learning from SAP implementation in Brazil, and Jose, I know you are from there, Nota Fiscal and SAP don't like each other. What I learned is keep it simple and short. So whenever I talk to a person, I say, when is process mining your tool of choice? And I say, you need a goal. People say, no. It says process mining will tell me where I have to search. I said, no, not really. Let me make an example here. I have a pencil here. Let's say we are producing pencils, because it's not so easy with a process we have at Linde. When you produce pencils, you say you can follow the pencil through the production. But these pencils later is put into a box. So then the pencil itself is not any longer visible. It will become a box. The boxes come to a pallet. The pallet comes to a lorry. The lorry goes somewhere. My first question would be, what do you like to see? If you only follow the box, we will have an issue later with the pallet, or when the pallet is on the lorry. If you want to follow the pencil, we don't see anymore what's happening after he's in the box. So the first question would be, what is the object you like to go through? If you say, Martin, this pencil example is not good, I said, okay, let's go for procurement, finance and administration. If you want to follow the purchase order itself, it's one object. But the purchase order, at least in SAP, and I'm an SAP guy, says line item 1, line item 2, line item 3. What we learned, the purchase order is created in January, because then when we go to the vendor, and then in February there's line items, in March, in June. So if you only follow the purchase order, you wouldn't see what is in additions. So here we also had a discussion, and that answer I can give, it's official. In Linde, we are following the line items of the PO, because we found out that most of the time the rework and the changes are on that level. Second one, we have this one already since we are doing European RPA, robotic process automation. You need the data. It's electronically and structured. And yes, I know people say you use artificial intelligence and you can use unstructured data. When you start, please don't do that. Why? You later will create output, and this output is dependent on your input. If your input is not 100% correct, people will kill you for the output and you can't do anything. So my recommendation is, start with structured data only. If you can manage that, go also for the nicer thing, or I call it the nicer things because it's the more sexy things, artificial intelligence, and say how to structure the data. And now we go. So far, we have done normal reporting. Now we have to say, let's put some activities. Earlier, we had these questions. How do you do process mining in the maintenance area? Yes, you do the predictive thing, and they say a person goes there. But we now say the activity one is first, he stamps in with his card. Then he takes his toolbox. Then he goes to there. All of the things which I'm mentioning now, like he's opening the toolbox, he's taking the screwdriver, and so on, they are not there in the current thinking of the people's mind. And you have to define them. And you have to differentiate between, is he opening the toolbox? Is he taking the screwdriver? Is he putting it back? So all of these activities you need to do and add. People then say, oh, Martin, now it becomes really complex. What should we do? I said, yeah, give me 2 more minutes. I will come to this other one. Timestamps. What we also would need, we would need best of it timestamps so we can see what happened in which order. Was he running back to the front door because he has forgotten something, and so on and so forth. What I talk now about maintenance on a machine, you can also do in finance and accounting. Invoice, when it was paid, was the good receipt posted before the invoice arrived or wasn't it? You need timestamps. SAP is good in timestamps, GD AdWords is good in timestamps, but we also have entities who are running on an ACE400. They don't do timestamps very good. You have to predict timestamps, and beware here, you have very long discussions with people on what time is the right time for an activity to be. Best thing is you're doing and starting with processes which have already good timestamps. And if any one of you in the crowd can tell me what midnight is it yesterday or is it today? That would be good, because we haven't found a solution so far. The last thing, if it's speaking about new ERP systems, not a big deal, they have a change log. But you need history which is not overwritten by itself. What does he mean? Means you need a log of all changes. If someone changed the price from 10 to 1 cent, 10 euros to 1 cent, and back to 10 euros, something happened, but you would only see if you have all 3 things. If all of that is good, you can do process mining. That's how I started in the beginning, and then the people looked at me with really big eyes and said, Martin, you lost us. We will go back, we will play with our drones, we will construct our sites, and we will do the other things, but process mining is nothing for us. I said, okay, let's do it in a different way. My daughters teach me, Daddy, explain it simple, 1, 2, 3, as easy as 1, 2, 3. What is my story? I say, let's imagine you know all the sunken ships in the world. Good. Now we go there, we use special tools, and we will find out where they are and how they look like, and if they are worth to do something with them. And if we have done so with our very special tools, and I will, if you ask me, I will tell you how special they are, but I will not tell you at the beginning what is an alpha algorithm, what is a deadlock, and whatever. But what I can tell you, we will give you a map, and you can send, or someone, let's say someone has to send the scuba divers, put on the gear, fill the bottles with air, and then do it, lift the treasures. Okay, they said, that we can buy. How do you do that? And I said, okay, what is my idea? We have data, we have them, it's good. When we don't have them, we don't do process mining. Let's use this data and put them into a tool. If it is Salone, Signavi, or whatever, I don't have a preferred tool, because here is the methodology what we are using. This data we are enriching with a case number. Here it comes back to the object. So is your pencil a case? Is it your box? Is your purchase order the case, or the PO line item? And we put on these nice activities on a PO, create the PO, change the PO, confirm the delivery date, and so on and so forth. And we put also the changes. That means whenever we did something more than once, so the second time, that is a change. That is waste from the Lean Six Sigma black belts. And if we have all of that, we have to tell the people, sorry, we will not do your full data set. There will be a mining gap. Oh, Martin, mining gap is not good. That was the answer of the people. I said, it is good. And at the beginning, as bigger is your mining gap, as better it is for you, because it would mean your data model is small and you can handle it. So don't, or you can try. I know some companies who have managed it to do their process mining, their digital twin of the reality of the data, and then their processes, and they can compare their BI and their process mining tools 100%. For us, not possible. Our amount of data is purely too huge. So we said, let's have a mining gap, let's inform the people, so they cannot expect a full set of data. Question then would be, if you have done all of that, in the process mining thing, you do the analysis, you do the dashboards, and then you have to initiate the change. I told you I'm a center of excellence. So originally, I wouldn't have the power to perform the change. What does that mean? All people start, yeah, good, Martin. So you will give us all of that, and then we'll hand you over the map, and then we have to send our scuba divers and so on and so forth. That that is not really what it should be, because how I can see it, the process mining center, it's me and the team who's working there. We will start the journey, and for sure we can be there until you have to initiate the change. But then there's operations, and then there's also shared service and BPO. If you don't have shared service and BPO, don't mind, then it's all operations. But somehow operations has to handle it. And when I say operations, I mean the people. They have to perform the change. The first change is to find out, be open for what did we do wrong in the past. I can see mistakes I have made decisions in the past about. Saying so, then you also have to have the people who say, yeah, let's do the change. Good example, let's assume you would know that posting automated good receipt will save you this amount of money because it always delays your accounts payable process. Who is the person who takes a decision? We are doing it for the value, and here I'm not allowed to say any figures anymore, X, Y, or Z. The risk you can show. In process mining, you say, that's how often it lies there. This would be the person who would have to press a button and so on and so forth. Let's do it automatically, but that would mean we have a risk. You can calculate the risk, but at the end, someone has to say, yes, this risk, it's worth against the cost we have with the process. And having all of these discussions, I couldn't at the beginning say people, how costly will it be? Because I didn't say how big is the data model and so on and so forth. And I was thinking for a long time, how can I explain it? And I found out a recipe. You maybe know it, you can bake a cake based on the 1 cup here, 2 cups of that, 3 cups of that. At the end, the cake will be there. If you need it for the double the size, double the amount of cups. So what I did, I made it really simple. I said, let's assume one person is 1 cup. So if one person is capable to do this data model thing and so on and so forth, for sure you will need 2 people who do the analysis based on this data model, who are creating the dashboards, who are doing the data validations, and who are saying, yes, these are the dashboards you can use. And what I can promise you as well, you need at least 3 times the people who are performing the change. Because you know they are all engineers and they all know it better and they all think they are doing it correct. And because there is no timeline, I could also say 1, 2, 3. All of these 6 cups together, that is my recipe on how you can do process mining. I can't give you a figure, but I can say, if you already see it takes you this amount of time or this amount of resources to come up with your data model and your dashboards and so on, that is my recipe. If it's correct or not, you can judge. Coming on from here to the next slide, which is the one people may be looking for because it says what is cost and what is the hidden cost. We are a center of excellence. We have to charge out ourselves, so I have to tell people what they do have to expect. If you do it intercompany, you have to add the 5% or whatever percentage is forced by the lawyers through you or the tax people. But what I can tell you, also the cost, we put it into 3 components. It's first for tool and maintenance. It's second for resources to validate the tool and to run the tool. And last but not least, it's the budget to fund the initiated changes. What does it mean in detail? Okay, user licenses is the no-brainer. The tool providers will tell you. Cloud usage, that depends on how much you want to bring on. And here I can tell you, we are using process mining to do process mining. So what we have done, we say we load initially data, then we build dashboards, and then we look what of the data is really used in the dashboards. If the data isn't used for enough dashboards or non-dashboards, we take it out of the tables to reduce our gigabytes in the clouds. The providers may don't like, but my boss likes because it becomes cheaper. Process coverage. There are some providers who tell you you have to pay per process. Okay, that is the cost you can see there. So prices. Transfer to the cloud. I said, Martin, that's easy. You bring it up there. I said, I thought so as well. Then I had a meeting with the CIO. He said, yeah, the data is in my ERP systems. You want to have it? You want to have it in real time. That means you have a constant load of 20% because you're mining in my data. Not mining, you are copying my tables. Yeah, Martin, you have to pay because our ERP systems are scaled on the average usage with some peaks, but you would be a constant X%. If it's 20, if it's 10, that depends on your ERP system. So there is a cost of getting the data out of your ERP system into the cloud or into the on-prem server. The maintenance, I put an X here, ask suppliers of your tools. Data security, big thing in Europe. not a less big thing somewhere else I heard. And data cleansing. So you couldn't keep all the data in. You would have to say, okay, I have to have some cost going through data for 2017, for 2015. You will not mine anymore to keep it out. And at the end, not least, you want to scale. So you need a scalable user authorization authorization system. That was the first block. Second one, the resources to validate. If I say here, data scientists and app designers, you have them in-house. Unfortunately, they're not sitting somewhere. They are somewhere in other projects. They are doing already the nice data mining things. You can get them with consultants, but they come with cost. Data validation, that was the biggest thing. You remember I talked about the mining gap. So you can't validate one-to-one from your ERP systems to there. You enrich it, the things with the cases, you enrich it with the activities which are typed in newly while you're transferring your data into the cloud. And you can't say, I have 100 in my ERP, so I must have 100 in my process mining environment. So this validation thing really needs people who know all the tables of your ERP system or all the source data by heart. Alignment of KPIs and definitions. Oh, we have that already, I thought. No, we don't. Because with all the new activities, if you're running SAP, for example, enter in SAP, that was one of our, start of KPI, it tracks when that means. So now we have, he opened the transaction, he relooked, he did that. So we had a lot of things to do, like redefining our KPIs. That takes time, so it produced some cost. Last but not least, I was a process owner before in our company, so you need these process owner back again, and you need them on the table because you have to argue something. Best case, you make them to the app owners. Means whenever you create something in your process mining environment, your process owners will be the ones. But you have to fetch them, you have to take them away from other priorities. And here we go. And last but not least, alignment with other projects. We did the best dashboard for accounts payable. It worked for 3 months, and immediately on one morning, it didn't work anymore. We called and said, what's ongoing? Oh yeah, we have changed the underlying workflow system. It's not anymore A, it's now B. And because we want to distinguish the old world from the new world, we changed the document type. And by the way, I said, oh yeah, the document type was exactly one of the criteria we used to filter in the data pools. Okay, so please also here, the cost in aligning with other projects is there, but it will keep you away from failing with these topics. And now the last one, and that's the one where I feel a little bit bound with myself, because really that's when the departments have to go there and say, you're changing something. And you said in your presentation before, this change, that is the biggest thing, and it will take time. If it takes time, then yeah, the RE of your own project, the process mining project, is also spread over a longer time. So how to avoid that? You have to invest in convincing people to do the right things, to change systems when you've seen errors. You have to invest in additional tools, maybe, because if you see, okay, maybe the people are losing time here, here, and here, you have to give them other tools. You need resources to talk to externals, as I told before. If one of the issues is with your customers, with your vendors, or even with suppliers, or consultants, you have to have someone who's talking to them and say, we have to change something. If you're running a shared service center, you could hire immediately one person who's only taking all the things you find in process mining and dealing with the BPO provider, because they have desktop procedures and all of these other things they all have to follow. Trainer to change processes. Sometimes you need trainer, you have to pay them. And then the last thing, which is most of the time, we heard before from Robert that they don't even have time to plan maintenance because they can never take their best assets, their vehicles, out of business. Yeah, if you have to take all of the organization and train them because they have to change something, that is also a type of cost. So these are the things I'm allowed to share, and willing so, waiting for some more questions for this one later. I also found here a nice picture. I haven't drawn that one, but the guys who took care about how can you build up the ROI for change. They say, you know, it's current, you have a transition, and you have a future. But what you also have, the net project benefit, is dependent from adoption and installation. And that, I mean, I've seen this picture, I said, I understand that. But then I thought, second time, the third time, oh, maybe that is something I can also explain the people we are working together with. And maybe that has also something to do with my 1, 2, 3 theory. I've taken here an idea which is already 5 years old, and you have maybe seen it before. It's a called value gap between installation, implementation, and adoption. To be honest, adoption and implementation, some people say it's the same. What I can tell you in what we said, the installation, which is also the thing you do before you even reach the status nil, that can be done by the Center of Excellence. But then, if you want to really go further than the installation of the tool, you have to go out and you have to shout to the world, hello, here we are. You need the so-called AOs and the POs. AO stands here for the app owner. That's the one who really owns the process mining dashboard and can tell that's why it's counting like this and like that. And not last but not least, you need a DRI. And if I say DRI, we have taken that from an HPO initiative we did before. That means you must have a direct responsible individual. If you have a matrix organization or whatever, everyone says, oh, the other one will do it. No, you must have someone who is taking the decision. We are changing our maintenance slots. We are building it the other way now. Or we are going for, best example, why do we have accounts payable at all? Why don't we pay at the moment the guys deliver? Would be an innovation or maybe even something more. No, you need a DRI who says we do something with that, because otherwise you have a lot of things in your process mining area and you will not do anything. You remember the cups? I found out they also work here, because the first cup and the second one is the data model and the data validation. The next one is the design and the UAT of the dashboards, the tool. If I talk about dashboards, tools, or apps, it's an acronym for whatever you can do with process mining. As we know, you can investigate, you can monitor, you can do that. Any of that for me is something which needs an UAT, and you have to do that. And on top of that, with all of the projects, the value gap will become smaller because you will get higher on your implementation. And that means that your process mining value, which is at least the one which is intended to be there, will be reached. And now there is the possible value. What have I done? I found another nice graphic, and the slide becomes a little bit busy now. Adoption. And if you say, I have heard about it, or I see the benefits, or I will use it, best. But there is a little bit more. If people come and say, Martin or team, I use your tool, I have seen things, can we extend the dashboard? Can we add another activity because I have a gut feeling? PO additional line items for freight cost, big topic. Why it's a big topic? Yeah, even without talking about figures, if you make 28 billion revenue, you have something to put into your company before you can get it out. So freight cost was one of our biggest issues. And then people said, oh, can we maybe not only see rework and changes, can we see additions? So now people also start thinking in the way of how process mining should work and say, they have fully adopted the current tool, and the end users at the end say, we wanted to do something here, can we please bring that to the next level? So, and that is where I also say, if people come back with that one, if they have these, I call it the blinking eyes, and we want to do something, that is when I say we did the job well. What do we need to do the job well? They have the small boy there sitting there and say, I need my dream team. And people always ask me, Martin, what is your team about? I said, also there we can use the 1, 2, 3 theory. First of all, I can perform the data extraction. Let's call him Barry. The next two is I do multidimensional pivot tables. That's my Steven. And you need someone who is the legend in the process mining tool. You have to send him to all the trainings. He must live the tooling itself. Let's call this person Diana. And the last three one, I have a green belt, black belt, or whatever, Clark. I'm the one who wants to define the KPIs and the PPIs and all of these other things, which is you. And you know someone, or someone who says, I know the cheat sheet. Martin, what is a cheat sheet? People are asking me. I said, that's what I learned when I did RPA. People who really know their process. They tell you, oh, by the way, that is written down on my desk, and that is, I don't use gut feeling, but I have a pencil and me, and that is my cheat sheet, and that is what I put in, and which tells me what to do right. So people who know that and bring it to the process mining environment, you have to do someone who's doing the extraction. You have to do someone who's doing the merge and cleansing. You have to do someone who's doing the data analyst. Who is the data analyst? Business analyst, which is the one you know already as the one who has a green belt, the Six Sigma guys, the leans, the performance people. If I talk about performance, there's obviously this nice question, are you an optimist or a pessimist? And it is done by, is your glass half full or half empty? And I said, I have two answers on that one. The first one is, if it's only half full, the glass is too big. And the second one, if the glass is half full, we maybe have to reorder a second. So that is how we learn how to thinking, saying, the process we have found out, we have seen something, we have to adapt to whatever it is. Is it changing the size of the glass or reordering? The last one is the process owner. I already elaborated on that person. And the last one is really the business expert, the person who is running the business. And I'm not a nerd enough to have all of them in mind, but the guy, the Barry, the Steven, the Diana, the clerk, the Sue, and the Carol, they only work in my team on the day. And in the night, they are turning into superheroes. And I like to link here to Rudy, who had the introduction. I met Rudy before he went together with UiPath, so he was process gold. We didn't have purchased his tool, but I really like what he pitched there. All of these guys are superheroes at night. So the first one is Flash. He's doing very fast. Steven is Captain America. He's doing whatever he has to do. Diana is Wonder Woman. Clark, you most likely know, is Superman. Sue is Invisible Girl, and I really like that there's a superhero is called Invisible Girl, because in our project, the process owners are always the invisible ones. You can never get hold of them. And last but not least, Carol, she is Captain Marvel. So that's about the team. Coming to the conclusion and being 2 minutes before the time, takeaways. Do process mining. Is process mining still there in 5 years? Yes, it is. Maybe not with the tool you have currently purchased, but the idea will be there. Is it possible to link it with RPA or with hyper automation or with all of the other things? Yes, it is. But you need people to do that. Be aware of the mining gap, make it big at the beginning and make it smaller at the end, because it will impact your cost. Secondly, humans must walk the path of change. Give them the time. If you start your project, say, I know everything about whatever I've learned at in the process mining area, and the deadlocks in there, and the alpha algorithm has shown me, and the likelihood that they will say, oh, Martin, that's too much. Give them time to understand, keep it simple and short. And last but not least, smile and embed. That's it from my side.
Outstanding, Martin. Outstanding. I like that strong end there. Keep a smile and and keep driving positive change. That's the spirit. Let me bring my camera back up here, and I am looking at the questions coming in, and any of you who has submitted questions, continue to do that. I will keep looking at them as we talk with Martin here. And Martin, just a little bit of perspective for the audience. Tell us a little bit about in the organization, a bit of how has transformation kind of evolved in the last few years. And I don't only mean like process mining, just like as a company, as a culture, kind of I mean, your organization is like over 100 years old, and I mean, you work in all these different countries. You know, you told me about implementing SAP in Brazil, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna lose his mind. but okay. You know, tell us a little bit about just kind of maybe how things have evolved in the last decade or so for the company.
Okay, Linde is the company which has grown big in Germany. Then they have acquired another big company some years ago. It's Bain Oxygen Company, BOC, and they run through a merger 2 years ago with Praxair. So speaking to North America, you most likely know them. So it's now a big British, big American, and big German company, 80,000 people, a lot of engineering. We once claimed we are the leading company for engineering. We are building power plants for GE together with GE. We are doing acetylene plants to separate the air. So the fridge at Linde, which is separating the gas to sell it to the customers, is 40 meters and higher. Where here now, I'm not the expert in all of that. So whenever some of the people who may our customers say he has no idea about his own business, sorry, if I look on my sheet here, because I've noted it down, in Linde, we deliver gases to you via pipelines, via lorries, in bottles. You can have them online. We are running online shops, and we are running our own hardware shops in Australia, for example, where you can go in, get your welding gear, get your welding gloves. So we do literally everything from big power plants to running online shops and running this one, which is a nice playground for change and a nice playground for process mining. So yeah, that is Linde. Very old. Mr. von Linde did it 127 years, or well, now we go, 1879. It's growing and it's changing. It's inventing itself. Healthcare. No one would have predicted 5 years ago that healthcare is our bestseller. Now we are sending oxygens to hospitals. It's good and it has changed. We had to change our business process there rapidly because orders could be done there, nurses could go any longer close enough to scan the bottles and do whatever they have to do. So we are reinventing ourselves all the time, but nevertheless also there, if you do all the other nice things with 3D virtual things, drones who are doing inspections on top of our air separation units, there is space for process mining because it's the first time you can see things. Coming back to Brazil, we found out something in Brazil and lorries have been standing still for 8 hours and we said, oh, our drivers sleeping. And I said, no, can't be. What we found out in Brazil, because there is a law, you have to go to the border, you have to get a stamp, even if you deliver somewhere else, but you don't want to go over the mountain. What we found out with process mining, they are paying a motorbike guy who's faster going over the mountain to get the stamp at the border, coming back, and then the lorry can go directly to the other state. I said, okay, we wouldn't have found out that one. We would always have thought our drivers are sleeping. Sorry, now they say Linde all drivers are sleeping. No, I think you got the idea about that one.
Fascinating. That's fascinating. Thank you for providing that color and background, because the complexity of an organization of that size and multiple layers, multiple business lines, how do you even get started deciding what you're going to work on? You know, when you think about how you go, how you build your team, and how you start looking for the right opportunities, not only for process mining, but just for general, you know, innovation, value creation. How do you even start taking bites out of this giant, you know, of an organization?
Okay, structure and discipline. You said it in your thing. We have to innovate and we have to be excellent, because if something went wrong with our plants, it gives huge explosions. No, we have to be safe, and we want to be safe, so we have to structure it. How we structure it, we have teams who always say, where can we become better? And they need the right tools. They are doing the lean thing, all the things, you know, high performance organization I mentioned already. And so we say, we taking all of these leads, as you said for Sony, we put 100 and then we say which of them have the best potential. And we are doing pioneering. We say, let's try it. Let's have a working assumption. Let's have a goal in mind, like reducing the cycle time with our vendors by 10 days. And then let's prove it works in small, means have a very big mining gap, but when it works in small with one country or with one given portion of vendors, then let's scale it. So yeah, that would be the answer to that one. And yeah, never stop inventing.
That's right. That's right. Now, ownership is a very complex issue in any organization, and the bigger the organization, ownership becomes more complicated. It's ownership of the data, it's ownership of the process, it's ownership of the product, it's ownership of the program. I mean, it's several layers of ownership. And you talk about the structure and roles and responsibilities. I also saw in your presentation the important role of having process owners. How do you go about identifying the owners in the organization when you decide that, you know, we need to do something in this area? How do you find who the owners are for the important components of change in that area?
Okay, there's no one answer to this one, because it really depends. In R&D, it's different than in sales, and so on and so forth. And also there is maybe a cultural change which came with the merger. So here it's a very difficult answer for me in less than 3 minutes. What I could say is the management has a strategy, and we say we have to adapt our culture to the strategy to not being eaten by that. Where what I also may have to say with process mining, you have to change the idea of, can I have a PowerPoint of that? Because the worst thing you can do is putting process mining results to a PowerPoint, because it's outdated the minute you print it. Then you hand it over, they look in the system, they say it's not. So the cultural change here would be lovely management or lovely engineers. I know you like printouts on your boards. Forget that. use the online technology. Coming back to your question, it's structured in the way that we have these process owners, that people are doing the right things at the right time. It's steered by different things. We have a very good digitalization team, for example. They only care about where can we become more digital. So it is steered by the board, by different members saying, that's how we do it. And here exactly now, I'm in an area why I haven't shown any Linde logo, because it is really complex to talk as 1 out of 80,000 about these specific questions. I could talk about process mining, but here I would say there's other people who do it much better, and they do it the way they do.
Very well, well said. Martin, other questions that have emerged and kind of overall themes are for some people who are working in smaller companies and smaller organizations, fewer resources, and they are trying to get started with, they see some potential with process mining. But curious about, if you were doing this for a much smaller organization and you're getting started, what would be some of the suggestions you'd give to people who may be a little bit resource constrained and want to explore process mining?
Okay, we did start as a team of 2. So it's possible to put the 6 superheroes in the team of 2. You need a process expert and someone who is change willing and minding, and you need someone who is capable to do coding. I can do coding, but people always say, Martin, stop it, you are not good. So you need these 2 people, and they can come from your BI, from there, and there. So a process owner which worked already for your company and an IT guy, these both together, put them into a room, let them start small, think big and scale fast. 2 people is good because one of them is still, the other one can still take over, the 80-20 rule. 3 people would be better because then one of them can go on vacation. No, you can start with 2 people. I did it, and I'm open on LinkedIn to discuss what should you do then and here and now. And then don't overscale at the beginning, because you have to say it's a payback. A process mining tool in itself doesn't change. It's not the one button and there is a million. It is, you can tell people there it is, and you have to see how it is adapted. If there is no adaptation at all, you maybe have to stop the process mining and go back. I need first continuous improvement or whatever process, because otherwise I will fail. Yeah.
Excellent. And one final question here, like 30 seconds, 45 seconds before we have to wrap up. So a quick question. What's the one thing that you're excited about coming, next? Whatever it is. It can be process mining, but it can be anything else. What is getting you excited about the future in the next 12 months or maybe the next 12 years?
In the next 12 months is to see the change in behavior, like having these conferences more. You don't travel anymore. Privately, I would say I could live where I like and I can work globally, because the digitalization or COVID brought digital work together to our companies. And now sitting here for 8 hours a day in my private area, as it is in Germany currently, that is the biggest thing. And I really like to see that. I have some fears. It's maybe some high selling areas like London or maybe Munich, that you say, come on, we can also get these people sitting in Bratislava, there, and there. But that would be then say, okay, we can have the right people for the right resource, for this one. That is the 12th one. For 12 years, sorry, I will not predict. I can, as you said, no one can predict the future. I said, I can make my own. And if someone would have asked me 5 years ago, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I would have said, I'm sitting in my home office and presenting to more than 1,000 people in these audiences.
That is right. I love the way you captured that, Martin. Thank you so much. I mean, as you said, we all had plans, but life happens, and it takes you in directions sometimes that most people had not foreseen. And but there's so many opportunities that have opened up, and here we are today with thousands of global participants with a common purpose around learning and sharing on process mining. And this would be nearly impossible to do just like 12 months ago, around 12 months ago, because as you said, there was not an acceptance of this way of communicating, and we have been transformed in a way and dislocated that I don't think we'll ever go back to being the way things used to be. And while we will long and be nostalgic about some of those things, I think that we all can also contemplate the greatness of being connected on a global scale now. Yep. And being able to do things that we couldn't do before.
I wouldn't have met you and Brian, and I wouldn't have spent more time on LinkedIn because I'm sitting here. Jose, one last thing I want to say. You didn't retire, you found your passion.
That's right, my friend. I haven't started dying yet, so I'm still growing.
That's what keeps you alive.
Martin, what a pleasure to meet you, a global leader of excellence and innovation. As I think of it and as I talked about in my previous session, you are one of those great examples of people driven with purpose, passion, discipline, resilience, and you are transforming businesses, organizations, lives in meaningful ways. So thank you for kindly sharing your expertise with our global community today. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Kusen, directly from Munich, Germany, sharing his expertise and insights on the transformation they're going in his company, a multinational global corporation that is impacting so many around the world in a positive way. So we are going to wrap up the session, take a break. We'll meet you back up at the top of the hour. We're going to go from Europe, Munich, Germany, to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and we're gonna bring Omar Murad, who is also in a engineering heavy business, and we're gonna talk about the BPM journey in a construction company with the ECC group, highlighting process and task mining, automation, and digital transformation. So goodbye for now. See you in a few minutes at the top of the hour.